Okay, looks like we're live. Looks like I'm live. It's Leanne Antoine from Distinct Physio, gracing you here on Chew It Over, as I do every second Tuesday of the month. Always a pleasure to be here, to join you, to talk things that are topical within therapy, but very meaningful. I know some of you know that I like to go a little bit deep at times. I thought I was going to have a guest this week. Unfortunately, they couldn't join me. So you're gracing me for the next 30 minutes or so. And I hope that the time that we spend that is fruitful, productive, heartwarming. And if you do have anything that you want to say, please do drop them into the chat function. Those that I can see, obviously, I will do my best to answer to. And a little delay there. I'll do my best to answer them. And if there is something that I miss or pick up a bit later on, whether that's on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'll then try and respond to those, because I've had a little bit of that following the last couple of shows, or some people have even emailed me. So thank you to people who have reached out for communicating. Some people just saying that they're just simply enjoying the shows that I do. It's always a pleasure to know, particularly when you feel like you're talking to yourself sometimes. Adam wants to know why I'm not deadlifting with him anymore. Adam, if you want to get a session on, I'm down with it. I'm currently training at March On in Harpenden. I am lifting incredibly heavy there. But if you want to have a sesh at Norton, I'm on it. Thanks for your comments. Believe you me, guys, I am back on the training vibe. Has anyone else sort of fallen off? I keep calling it the gain of pandemic pounds. I am in the gym solidly. And I know what that means for me and my mental health. Come and join me for a session, Adam. So today's session is all about building relationships with our patients. That's what I want to discuss. I want to unpick some of that. And a little bit of why I am unpicking that, firstly, is you will see it's nice, bright and white. This is my new physiotherapy clinic. Hey, Joe. Afternoon, Alistair. And this is my 4th week in my new clinic. And over the last 7 or 8 months, I've been doing lots of work behind the scenes to get myself here. It has not been easy. But one of the things that has been, I want to say, pivotal to me being able to do this, plain sailing as things can go, in relationships with my patients has been outstanding. Like, you can see all the cards. People have brought in all sorts of different gifts to help me to mark my milestone of getting into this new clinic space. And it's been really heartwarming, because some of those patients have walked a real journey with me to get to this point. For 6 years, Distinct was hiring rooms. I've worked in lots of different places, worked out of gymnastics places, all sorts. And I've even worked at the back of somewhere, which, it was just a room, but there was no heart to the room. There was no branding, everything. It's like everyone else's space, right? So I've moved into here and I've been making it my own. Matt, I'm going to come back to your comment probably at the end, because there's going to be some good stuff going on, I'm sure, about weightlifting and all that sort of stuff, training, etc. But what I wanted to focus on was the relationship that we build with our patients. How healthy is that in terms of what we do to assist them with their road to recovery? And then also considering what that relationship might be like if it wasn't just in the treatment room. in terms of, being or building a friendship with a patient. And obviously, we know in relation to our standards of practice, we know that there are boundaries, certain boundaries that we mustn't go past. And I think that so many of us are very aware of that. But what I also wanted to explore was for the patient who doesn't necessarily work in the MSK setting, is working in the NHS, treats patients in the NHS, and this might be ward based, but also the impact of building that relationship with their patients. What does it mean? How does it help? How does it influence the patient's recovery journey? I guess this as a podcast is also quite important for students. You go into a placement for 6 weeks. You're expected to build a relationship with your educator. You're expected to build a relationship with the patients that you're treating, even though it's for a very short period of time. And you're expected to embed yourself into this relationship in 6 weeks and then leave. Yeah. I always really, really struggled with that as a student. And Jeanette touches on this. She says, Leanne, this topic is something I discuss with my students every single term. So important for them to understand the therapeutic relationship and how important their role can be. Totally, Jeanette. I completely agree with you. On top of that, that therapeutic relationship, what I think that a lot of people miss is that it is actually a skill to be able to build relationships well with people. I have this notion that I meet some people in the workplace, when I've been working for people, and even now when I'm out networking, and in my head, I constantly ask the question, would I be friends with you at school? Like, would you be my bestie? Or would you just be someone I just know and I'd wave to when I walked past? Or would you be someone that I could build a relationship with, where we understood our boundaries in terms of patient and therapist, but also knew that if we wanted that relationship to become a friendship, this goes for students and their student educators, would we be able to do that, and would it be healthy to do so? Jeanette says, yes, it is. I find it hard to teach. You've either got it or you haven't. Ooh, and again, this comes up for me. I was talking at a school last week, and I was talking to the students. The presentation was called What's the Point? And the teachers had reached out to me, teachers I had built a relationship with, and they wanted me to help the students, to kind of uplift them for the purposes of upcoming exams. The morale's been low. Obviously, lots of students haven't been at school. They've struggled without their friendships, their relationships, their daily relationships. And Jeanette's right. This is a really difficult topic to teach. Now, one of the things that I think about it, Jeanette, and I almost feel like my topic is for you today. You are who I am truly speaking to, because I feel like I've got your attention. But one of the things about this relationship for me, and what I've learned since not working in the NHS, and we'll come back to that in a second, is that I think that my patients want to be able to relate to me. So it's one thing, isn't it? Being able to have a conversation. You've asked questions, subjective assessment, for example. It doesn't matter whether you're MSK or respiratory or neuro. Hi, how are you? My name's Leanne. I'm going to be your physiotherapist today, and I'm going to be asking you a few questions. Have you had physio before? If they say no, you explain what physiotherapy is. You take them through the journey of how physiotherapy is going to work. And then you'll start your series of questions. Now, let's face it, in 15 to 20 minutes, we know the person's full name, home address, we know whether they're married, single, divorced, we know how many kids they've got, we know all about their health. They literally tell us so much intimate, our patients tell us so much intimate information about themselves, and they don't have the liberty to do the same to us, do they? And when I was talking about the NHS and the relationship building in the NHS, what I was talking about is this. So same thing. My name's Leanne. I'm going to be your physiotherapist today. Take a seat. How are you? Etc. In the NHS, I felt like it was my duty to keep everything about myself like a secret. Jo says she needs to run, but she's loving this. She's going to pick it up later. This is good. Now, in the NHS, I felt like then, because I then couldn't, I felt like I couldn't express myself. Now, lots of people in the NHS might say, Leanne, that was how you felt. I work in the NHS now. I can express myself. There's no problem with me expressing myself. My department encourages it. That may well be now. Let me tell you, that was not then. So you worked, you built your knowledge base, you learn. Remember, we don't learn that much psychology at university as undergrads. We don't even learn that much about it as in our masters either, certainly not in the masters I did in terms of building the relationship. My master's was very much about utilizing the skill of being able to diagnose, being able to assess thoroughly, being succinct. It was very much about that rather than, and I think it's Lisa Robertson's work, her PhD work is very much in this area, therapist and patient relationships. And I always say, if I'm going to do a PhD, I'm almost putting this out there now, I really shouldn't put it out there, but that if I was going to do a PhD, it's in this area because I am so passionate about this. Now, I was reading something on the run up to this show, and it stated that relationship, I've not defined healthy, okay, we're just talking very generically for the minute. Building a healthy relationship with your patients helps to improve, like instantly improves patient satisfaction. Doesn't it anywhere? If I walk into a little boutique, I like boutiques. If I walk into a little boutique and I want to buy something, I've seen a dress, and the person in the shop comes over and says, oh, hi, is there anything I can help you with? And I said, well, no, I'm just browsing. And she says, just let me know if there's anything that you need help with. I'm instantly like, oh, I could spend my money in here. Instantly. Or I'm like this, oh, I could spend a bit of time in here because I feel like I'm welcomed in that space. The person wants me to be there and I want to be there. In fact, the money I spend at the end of it is almost irrelevant because now this becomes an experience. It's no longer just about the top I might buy, the stationery I went in for. It's no longer about that, right? And that experience, that satisfaction for our patients, NHS on the wards, MSK, privately, wherever it is so important to our patients. I did a video not that long ago, I'll say not long ago, maybe a year or so ago, and it was all about this question. You ready? How are you? Like, when I ask my patients that question, I genuinely want to know how they are. Genuinely. Now, how many people ask you how you are over the course of a day, right? And how many of those people do you respond with, I'm fine? And really, you're not fine. Jeanette says that psychosocial skills training in undergraduate sports therapy degree programs is virtually non-existent. That's interesting. I wonder whether it's any better now. Maybe some of our students will come on, have a little listen to this, and will let us know. And if you want to share this with them, I would encourage you to do so. And I'm happy for the students to reach out to me. I'm happy for anyone to reach out to me. But I say about students because, as we've said, this is a skill to learn. Coming back to how are you? Now, the truth is, there are only probably a handful of people that will ask you how you are, that you will truly respond honestly to. Handful, if you're lucky. Because that day might be really bad, week might be really crap. And let's face it, work is work. So when you go to work, that needs to be the focus. Are you going in to start saying how you feel and how something this and that has happened? Yes, if it's going to take over your day and you're not going to be able to focus, then somebody probably needs to know, right? How much that person cares or acknowledges it, different ball game. Okay? I think that if we are valuing the relationship between us as therapists for the benefit of the patient, it doesn't always mean we need to like the patient, right? Not everyone that comes in your door not everyone that you're treating do you like. But it's not about that, is it? It's about having an understanding. It's about having respect. It's about being genuinely interested so that you can build a treatment plan for your patient to help them to reach their goals. Done. Thanks, Jeanette. You're going to be sharing. Brilliant. But it is about those factors. Now, the thing I was also reading, I'm trying to think what it was called now, also talked about better patient adherence to treatment plans. Wait, let's just straighten this out. So, you're now listening to me. I'm your patient. I feel like you are listening to what I am saying. I'm satisfied, and now I'm following your treatment plan. Wait, this is before I've given you an exercise program to follow. This is before I've explained to you what I think is wrong with you. This is before I put my hands on you, if I'm going to put my hands on you at all. Yeah, all of this psychology that you're dealing with as a therapist to tap into your patient. You haven't touched them yet. They don't even really know exactly what you do. Consultants referred them. GPs referred them. They're on the ward and you have to see them and they have no choice but to see you. You know, I think if you're going to have to do something, you might as well have to do it well, right? Do it with your heart. Do it with as though you've got some passion about what you're doing. I think, in my opinion. The other thing is that if I've then got good satisfaction, better adherence to a treatment plan, my outcomes, my overall outcomes are genuinely going to be better. So let's think about your EQ5D, your patient functional scale, and it would be really interesting to almost evaluate it in that way. Not that you can, you know, which therapist is really good at getting on well with their patient? What do their outcome measures look like? Because I don't think that we can do that so well, because that relationship building ultimately is quite subjective, isn't it? Like, who does it well? Well, actually, so many patients are different, right? I have some patients that will come in and before I've even asked them about their weekend or what they're up to for the week, they're already telling me. They're already pouring that information into the session. My thoughts about what they're doing at that point, it instantly says to me, I'm busy, Leanne. I'm really busy. You know, the patient that comes in and says, oh my gosh, I've got this to do, that to do. I almost don't have time to be injured. And that person is already telling me that they're busy. They're not even saying that they're busy, but their actions, their words, they're telling me they're busy. They're almost taking their stuff off, their tops off. I want to look at their little finger. You know what I mean? And I then have other patients who clearly do not want to disclose very much at all. They don't want me to ask them about their weekend. They want to focus on if it's their neck and only their neck. They don't want to talk about anything else. They don't want to deviate from the point at all. Now, when I have those types of patients, and Jeanette, I don't know how you teach some of this, but if you have a patient that is quite there's a, let me know if you can still hear me. As to whether I'm going to pick at that or not. How much of this do I think is going to impact the treatment that I give to that patient? You feel me? Ooh, I'm back. You haven't missed anything because I didn't say anything else. I was wondering how many of us as feel that they would be able to handle the unpicking. Now, this is interesting. Farouk Bello, I'm sure most of you know him, qualified for community rehab, who I spoke to at not something on Twitter, and it did make. When was the time like a physio qualified? Like, was that? And in my mind, because you're so focused as a newly qualified on the anatomy, the physiology, are you asking the right questions? You don't want to miss any red flags. You're reporting back to your senior. I think it's really difficult then to feel like you unpick the patient who is closed. In fact, the more open patient is that bit easier for you to see and treat because they're telling you everything. The one you have to dig for information, you have to make sure that the roadmap of your questioning is really quite thorough and really quite succinct. Because if it isn't, you're going to struggle. Yeah? I often find with those patients, there's always a bit more to the story. And if you are newly qualified and don't feel like you can quite tap into that patient, this is the patient you discuss with your senior. Sometimes these patients end up being the slightly more complex patient, even though they've come in with something that we would consider to be quite simple. It's interesting, isn't it? The relationship that you're building actively with your patient, if you're struggling to build it, what does that mean? If you're building it really quickly and really well, what does that mean? As I've said, I have met some wonderful, wonderful people who have really embraced me. And as I said before, moving for me into private practice also gave me a little bit of scope of, or maybe even the confidence to feel like it was okay to be me. It was okay to be expressive. It was okay to say I'm one of four. It was okay to talk about my heritage. It was okay to talk about the sports I was involved in as a kid and the things I want to do in the future. And actually in sharing that with my patients, I seemed to feel that they felt like I could relate to them. And even if they didn't open up in session number 1, or they didn't open up in session number 2, all of a sudden, the ability to open came in session number 3. Boom. We know that a lot of the work we do doesn't just sit in our hands. It just doesn't. It doesn't. So much of it is up here. We also know through lots of research and evidence, particularly in our field, that the subjective assessment is the most important part of what we do as physiotherapists. That conversation, that dialogue, forget the fact that we're taught to make it systematic and clear and concise. Forget that for a moment. Yeah, forget that for a moment. But the ability to know whether you are actually tapping into someone's psyche and can really work to improve patient satisfaction, better patient adherence to treatment plans, improving patient outcomes. All of those things, as a result of that conversation, make a true difference to your patients. I also think that your own shares bring a level of competence. I think that across certain cultures, there is some ethical quality to this. You know, it's like, yes, you get me. You understand. You know, when you say to somebody, have I got this right? It sounds like you're saying this to me. That patient feeling heard. Yeah. This topic for me is huge. I know it's greater than the 30 minutes I've had to speak today, and I love it. And maybe at some point I will come back and talk about the therapist to therapist relationship, because that also is something else that I'm very, very interested in. Jeanette says, thank you so much for today, Leanne. It was a great podcast, reaffirmed for me how important this is. And I think I said at the beginning, this is very much, or can be used for students. But Jeanette highlights, for those of us that have been doing this for a long time, this is a reminder to you about that relationship that you build when you speak to your patient over the phone, when they first come to you at the front door, when you walk into their treatment room on a ward. We have such a fundamental job to do. And as they say, first impressions count. Matt says, it's funny, in my previous career in sales management, this is bread and butter. The fact that we don't focus on it in the same way in healthcare is mad. And my opinion about this, have I got time for my opinion? Is that healthcare is down as a need, not a want. If I'm selling something to you and it's a luxury item, I need to convince you that you need to buy this. Whereas in healthcare, I'm telling you that you need this no matter what. And because of some of that onus, particularly over the years historically, this part of us has not been nurtured. But now this is why we're seeing so many more physiotherapists move towards a coaching direction, steering into a direction that's focused on coaching. This is why. We've realized, light bulb moment, eureka, whatever you want to call it. We realize how important this is. And you know what? Some of us are damn brilliant at it. We are sweetly. And we know the value add to our patients. Alistair, thanks. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys have found this interesting. I'm right on cue. I have a delivery and I will catch you later, guys. It's Leanne from Distinct Physio, but joining you here on Jack Choose, the Physiotherapy Matters podcast. I'm taking it over. I will see you in 4 weeks' time, and I will answer or respond to a couple of the comments that come up a little later. Okay, guys, take care.